Hello, I'm probably riding my bike. It's a rare rainy morning commute here. It doesn't rain much in winter here. Most days are cold, dry, sharp, usually quite sunny. I generally love the cold, dry winters here, but the rain for a change feels quite nice. Quite comforting and familiar. Reminds me of home in England, where the weather used to bother me. It's strange how nostalgia works, where something you didn't really enjoy before now feels quite nice. And it's amazing how a small thing, like a smell, the weather, a feeling, a sound, a song, can transport you to another memory. A moment in the past or just a feeling. You're just living your daily life, riding your bike to work in Seoul, and suddenly you're transported back home, where sometimes the weather's actually pretty nice. I feel like I've time travelled to the late 90s, when I was a 10, 11-year-old boy, before smartphones and before the internet was fast. You could just turn up at your friend's house, ring the doorbell, hope they're in and allowed out, and go and head out for a bike ride. I was lucky I had my brother to join me on most of my bike rides too. These are the woods I used to ride in as a kid with my brother and sometimes our friends. We'd disappear for hours and it felt like we had the whole world to explore. I still have the same feeling when I ride my bike now, but the forest definitely feels smaller this time. Probably because I know a lot more outside of it now. Coming past. Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I never had a bell on my bike when I was a kid either. It's time for a late 90s bike check. And I just found the perfect bike selfie stick. Back in the day I was finding the perfect sticks to throw for my dog. Now I'm finding the perfect sticks to prop up my bike for a photo. Here it is. It's a late 90s Kona Fire Mountain. The kind of bike I would dream of having when I was 11 years old. I always loved the style and branding of this era of Konas with their colourful logos and decals. Always fancied a front suspension hardtail as well back then. Nowadays I prefer a fully rigid bike, but the front suspension was quite fun for these few days. Feels very different to the other bikes I have, but I had a huge smile on my face the whole time riding it. The trend is to put a 1x in the front, a rigid fork and more upright swept back bars. But I quite enjoyed this proper 90s setup. I think it was a good setup for frolicking around in the forest. How many awkward but friendly hellos can you find in this video? I'm used to riding around in the huge dense city in Seoul most of the time, so this change of scenery through the English countryside was so fun. But it felt so familiar because I did it so much as a kid. I didn't knock on any friends' houses, but I did send some messages. But the reality of being a bit older is they're all a bit busy to join me. I said hi to the horses instead. So I'll come back to a simpler time in the late 90s, but I have cheated and brought with me some more modern technology. These fancy cameras from this video sponsor, Insta360. I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences between these and what I like about them. On this whole video I've put the watermark showing which camera is being used for each shot, so you can see the kind of shots you can get. For those who've always been watching my videos, the more familiar point of view riding shot is with the Insta360 Go Ultra. I've been using the Go 3, the previous version, quite a lot over the last few years, as my wife bought it for me for my birthday, and I feel like it really elevated my videos. This one's an improvement. It's a little bit bigger, but it still works in the same way with better quality. My favourite thing is just having the magnetic pendant under my clothes, and it's easy to just stick it on and off your chest. You don't really have to think about it, you just stick it on there, press the button, film for a bit, and then turn it off again. It's really easy to use. And then you can see on the handlebars the Insta360 X5, my new toy. It has a lens on each side so you can capture a full 360 image and then keyframe later. I like them both for different reasons. I like the Go Ultra because it's quite subtle on your chest and you can take it on and off easily. You don't feel like you're intruding or bothering anyone with your filming. And it's just simple to use, just on and off, and then editing's much easier because you just choose the shots you like. Not much cropping or anything. Definitely the best riding POV camera. I think the Go Ultra makes you feel like you're more with me on the ride, while the X5 captures the bigger picture and the movement. It captures a lot more and you're kind of watching me ride instead of being with me. What I really like about it is you can just film, not really think about it, and then capture the parts that you like later on in the editing suite. It brings a really immersive experience. And now I can just relive this sweet descent over and over again. If you're interested in the cameras, you can check the link in my bio. And actually now there's a Valentine's sale, 15% off and a free gift until Valentine's Day. Get your loved one or just treat yourself. Love yourself, as BTS would say. In some places, English people have a reputation for being kind of uptight, but it feels nice to be home around people with a good sense of humour, and I think a lot of people don't take themselves too seriously. It feels quite nice. It's quite surprising that I still remember the little shortcuts and back paths and bridleways and footpaths through the fields. Technically, you're not really meant to ride on the footpaths, but anything to get away from the cars on the road. I think that people here, a lot of motorists and drivers hate cyclists, and I can feel it sometimes. So just keep it to yourself that I'm riding on the footpaths. They don't make it easy with these kissing gates. And I was careful to see if anyone was ahead. I don't want to crash into anyone. It's the middle of winter here. It's quite different to the middle of winter in Seoul, where everything's grey and brown. Here there's still some greenery, thanks to the relentless rain and the relatively mild winters. These forests are usually pretty quiet, but today is actually Christmas Day, so I've got most of the place to myself, apart from a few families walking their dogs. Right. And some more awkward hellos. first.
Hi.
I'm getting a bit hungry and dinner's gonna almost be ready. I'm excited for one of the most glorious meals there is, the Christmas dinner. Got the table laid. There's just 4 of us today, with more family members coming the next day. So we'll do the crackers when there's more people. Usually people have roast turkey or roast goose, but I only get to have a roast dinner once every year or year and a half. So I requested the best roast there is, roast beef. The French have the nickname roast beef, or roast beef, for us. I'll take it as a compliment. A glorious meal with some roast beef, parmesan roast parsnips, roast potatoes, carrots, Brussels sprouts and a Yorkshire pudding, smothered in gravy. To the Christmas roast dinner purists out there, there might be a few wrong additions and maybe some things missing. But it was absolutely glorious, with a nice apple crumble and custard for dessert. The day after Christmas, Boxing Day, I feel like I need to burn off some of the excess calories I had the night before. And also, I need to go and make some coffee. In the 90s, I'd ride around in the woods and go and dig a hole or build some jumps or build a fort, a shelter with some branches. Now, apart from riding bikes, my hobbies are a bit different. So I'm going to go and make coffee in the woods instead. I'm just riding around in search for the perfect coffee spot. Perhaps a fallen tree, like a natural bench, a mossy one preferably. Or perhaps a tree stump. Feels almost ceremonial, like a throne for my coffee. Maybe a mossy rock. If I can find a stream, I'm not sure there's any around in this forest. Maybe even a den that someone's made. Let's have a look around. Then I started thinking, where would 11-year-old me, if I had a caffeine addiction, where would I go for a coffee? And then I found the perfect spot. Of course, I've got to have coffee up a tree. Definitely not as nimble as I used to be, and I know it would hurt a lot more if I fell. 11-year-olds kind of fall and just bounce straight back up. If I fell and hurt myself, it'd be the end of my riding life. It would take me a long time to recover. But I've committed now, there's no going back. There was a moment where I was thinking, what the hell am I doing? And then once I was up there, it was quite peaceful and seemed like a delightful place for a coffee. I brought the perfect little coffee bag. It's the Hitch Manhattan Portage collaboration that I showed you a couple of videos back. I've got my 1Z Presso X Ultra grinder and a classic coffee outside AeroPress. I think it might be one of the best things for coffee outside. Beans from James Hoffman's Square Mile Coffee Roasters. These are from a roaster in Mexico. And I took one of my mum's Christmas mugs. Got to be careful not to break it. It's hard to be completely accurate here, but I think the AeroPress is quite a forgiving coffee maker. So I'll go for about 20 grams of beans for about 220 grams of water, roughly. There's no need to be precise when you're making coffee up a tree. That's one way to enjoy coffee. There's all sorts of AeroPress recipes, but I just go for the single filter and just regular way up, no inversion. It's gone wrong too many times when I've tried the inverted method, and I don't think it really makes that much better coffee or any different taste, in my opinion. Freshly ground coffee in, and time for the water. It's probably about 95 degrees now. Fill it up to the top and put the lid on, the other part. I usually give it a swirl straight after and another swirl just before pressing down. I didn't capture in this video. And wait for at least 2 minutes. I think 3 to 4 minutes makes a great coffee too, if you're patient enough to wait that long. Stop recording. Time for the press. Press it down all the way until you can hear a hiss. And enjoy your delicious coffee. If you have it up a tree, the flavour will be elevated. Perfect. Done. Fully caffeinated with a bit of Korean memorabilia from Wolchulsan National Park. It's important when you're doing this not to leave any trace. I threw it down at the bottom and packed it all up afterwards. Oh God, this is where it all goes wrong. Wait. No, it was fairly easy to get up. Coming down is always the harder part. I'm not going to do that. I'm too old for that. It doesn't look that high from the video, but it felt pretty high. Just one wrong move could destroy my almost 40-year-old knees. But we made it. I survived. Now to pack up and enjoy the rest of Boxing Day with my family. First, we'll just take a small trip down into town and check out the river. My hometown is a town called Marlow, which is just west of London in Buckinghamshire, kind of in between London and Oxford, next to the River Thames. We'll head down to the river now. The area, the inspiration for The Wind in the Willows, if you've ever read that book. Excuse me, just coming past, please. Thank you. I didn't really think about how many people would be out on their Boxing Day walk. I underestimated how busy the river would be. Excuse me. Next time I'll put a bell on my bike. Excuse me, please. Thank you. Or I just won't come on a day when it's the national pastime to go for a family walk. Thank you. Everyone's been super nice, although they might secretly hate me. No Karens out today. And I feel sorry for any nice Karens out there whose name has been slandered, I guess. We've reached the River Thames and the town of Marlow with a bridge, which is a mini version of the bridge you might see if you go to Budapest, built by the same architect. Marlow High Street seems to have more traffic than Seoul. And more traffic lights and zebra crossings as well, which actually work in the UK. Zebra crossings in Korea are more of a guide of where to cross the road, but there's no chance a car will stop for you. Okay. Somehow here they just work. Now, I've gone for a bike ride on Boxing Day, kind of to burn off the excess calories, but also to build up some hunger for another glorious British classic, a fried breakfast. I think the top 3 British meals are number 1, roast dinner, number 2, fried breakfast, number 3, fish and chips. I think I appreciate them even more now because I only have them once a year or so. Absolutely glorious. My friends used to laugh at me and my brother because when we ate a fried breakfast, we'd have to have each ingredient in every single mouthful, which just makes sense to me. I don't know why you would just eat the beans and then just the sausage. That seems mad to me. Now time for more coffee. This time I'm making it for a few people. The French press or cafetiere with this winter espresso blend from Square Mile Coffee Roasters. Most people here usually have a cafetiere in their house. It's not my favourite coffee maker, but I still think it can make really delicious coffee. And it's really good for making coffee for a bigger group of people. It's not as clean as an AeroPress or a filter coffee. It's a little silky and not as thick as an espresso or mocha pot. You've got to grind quite coarse, and for this I did 50 grams of coffee for about 750 millilitres of water. My coffee grinder is perfect for making coffee for me and another 1 or 2 people, but it's a little small for grinding for this many, so I have to do it in 2 batches. That's kind of the consistency and grind you're looking for in a French press. Make sure your French press is preheated and clean. And put your coffee in and water at about 95 degrees. Give it a stir. Put the lid on and wait for 4 minutes. Warm up your mugs while you're waiting. My mum has this fancy tap that pours out boiling water, but I don't think it makes delicious water for coffee. Good enough for warming your cups though. I'll give it another swirl, about 3 minutes in, just to agitate the coffee a bit more. And it will usually settle to the bottom. And then press after your 4 minutes of up. When I make coffee at home, I always have it black. But English people love a splash of cold milk in their coffee. Often when I have English visitors coming to Korea, they always want to have a black Americano with a splash of milk in the cafe, which always causes so much confusion because they can't comprehend that it's not a latte, it's not an Americano, it's just a black coffee with a splash of milk. But it causes a lot of confusion for some reason. My workplace has a lot of other British people, and the local cafe has added this special coffee to their menu. The period between Christmas and New Year's Day is kind of a blur. There's just lots of eating, relaxing. You never really know what day it is. Catching up with friends and family. But now it's New Year's Day, and I feel like it's time for me to teleport myself back to Korea. I love being here. I love seeing my family and friends, and I love the food. But I feel like if I stay here, I'll become obese. It's time to go back. I'm craving a kimchi jjigae and some rice. The temperature's dropped below 0, and there's a mild frost on the fields. It might be the perfect conditions to find a portal to teleport, time travel myself back to South Korea. I don't think I've ever seen a horse in Korea. I forgot how normal it is to see them around here. I always think I've got to be extra careful around them, not to startle them. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I'll be sad to leave here, but I'll enjoy this last little ride before I find the portal back home.
And I could not find me another one more precious than thee. Well, you've got me charmed like a matador, dancing circles around my heart till I fall to the floor. The way you say my name, I'll never be the same. As the temperatures rise, all the power goes out, and the heat wave that you brought on me caused my poor heart to melt. The way you say my name, I'll never be the same. Like a garden in bloom, you soak up my rays, and the fragrance that you leave on me keeps me spinning for days. The way you say my name, I'll never be the same.
I think this grassy hill is where I can transport and time travel myself back to Seoul in 2026. Just if I build enough speed and enjoy the descent enough, I think I can make my way there. Here goes. Looks like I made it. It's always bittersweet coming back. This feels like my home just as much as England does too, just in very different ways. I hope you've enjoyed this nostalgic trip into the past. And if you're interested in the cameras I've been using, check out the link in the bio. And like and subscribe if you want to see more. See you later.
And I could not find me another one more precious than thee. Well, you've got me charmed like a matador.